Despite the quick turnaround for the Lady Vols, they brought the energy, they look sharp, and the rebounding, it got a little better. All of that leading to a 90-50 victory over UT Martin. These are my key 3 takeaways following that victory. I'm Paige Dower. This is the Field Pass on Full Disclosure. The physicality that this team plays with could absolutely be the difference maker for this team and could be what separates them from the rest of the league moving forward. Because again, in back-to-back games, in game 2 of the season, it was a total disruptor for their opponent. I mean, 48 points came off of forced turnovers. Part of that came courtesy with 18 steals on the night as well. But a few steals might have been better than the one Ruby Whitehorn had in the third quarter with about 5 minutes to go. After a bucket, they had that pressure defense that they like to set. At the top of that, it was Ruby Whitehorn guarding, and she gets into the pocket of Abby Stevens, who wasn't paying attention, and she's able to drive it in for a really nice layup. And part of that is kind of what I noticed in the second half, that it almost appeared that she was like kind of calling her name to guard the inbounds pass, which I didn't really notice anyone else doing that in this game until I noticed that she was doing it. So after the game, I asked her, I'm like, do you get added motivation when you're calling your number and you're trying to get a turnover early into the press? And simply she says, yeah, pretty much.
It's a lot of energy it brings, because it's just like, it's a reward after doing all of that hard work. Like I said, we pressed for 40 minutes. Personally, I just like being on the ball. I feel like I'm a lot more active. I can see and rotate a lot better, and it just helps me make sure I'm doing my job and help them talk to my teammates so they can do their job too.
Now, there were several stretches in this game where Tennessee's defense was absolutely suffocating. We look to the final 6 minutes of the first quarter, Tennessee forcing 6 turnovers during that time. And in that span of about 5 or 6 minutes, they also mounted their own 14-2 run. We look to the beginning of the third quarter, and in about a minute and a half stretch, the Lady Vols forced 3 turnovers. They had a 6-0 run during that as well. Similar to game 1 against Samford, where they had a couple 10-second violations as they're trying to get past mid-court. They had another 10-second violation here, and it was funny kind of looking at the player that was trying to drive the ball to not get the violation. She looks over at her coach and she's like, what am I supposed to do? Because she had Jillian Hollingshed and Tess Darby guarding her and they boxing her into the corner, and there really was nowhere for her to go. And during that same time, after that, Ruby Whitehorn was also able to convert for a bucket on the other end. So again, the defense really leading into their offense, and we saw that all night long for this team. Even when the shooting, which is my second point, leaves a little bit to be desired. They took tons of shots from beyond the 3, and one, I think it's a testament because they're taking what the defense is showing you. There were so many wide open looks that the Lady Vols were able to get beyond the 3-point line, but they finished well below 30%. They finished with a 23% shooting percentage from behind the 3. There was one point that they were 30%. It got a little worse as the game went on, again, finishing at that 23% margin. A lot of that, too, has to do with rushing. I know we talked about that in my last post-game report, but they're really rushing themselves on offense, especially in the first half, because they are, one, getting wide open shots. So if we want to cross-reference our sports with soccer, a lot of these are still shots on goal. They're on target. They're just a little short and then a little wide sometimes too when they're trying to get it from the corner. So they really need to focus on that. And I think, maybe you want to contribute it because it was a fast turnover, right? They just played the other day. Here's this game. It really feels like a tournament setting. And Coach Kim Caldwell's like, yeah, I guess maybe, but you are how you practice. And how they practice, she says, did not look good. They did not shoot well in practice. So it shouldn't be too much of a surprise when you know that now, that their shooting wasn't the best in the first half of the game. Got a little worse as the game progressed as well. But when you have so many points off of turnovers, like we mentioned in the beginning, you have so many fast break points, you're decent from the field as of right now. But I think as soon as they can settle into these games, I think they'll really have that confidence, because this team continues to kind of preach that they build confidence within each other. We kind of just need to see that take fruition. My third point has to do with rebounding. That was a huge point of emphasis for Coach Kim Caldwell a game ago. She says, I guess they're just going to have to lose games to take us seriously, that you got to clean up the fouling and you have to clean up the rebounding. They did that tonight. The margin was a lot wider than it was to compare to Samford. Now that margin was 58 to UT Martin's 28. That continues to be an emphasis for this team. They were able to make good improvements on that in this quick turnaround. It also was kind of what led to Ruby Whitehorn's double-double on the night. She had 18 points and 14 rebounds. And a quick fun fact for you, and if there are these fun facts in these games, I'll be sure to include it it in my 3 key takeaways in my post-game reports if that's something we enjoy, but I think this one is kind of nice. Kanaya Boyd, so she's a redshirt freshman. She's starting a couple of these games. She was 0 of 1 from the 3-point line against Sanford, but she got her first 3-pointer of her young Lady Vols career against UT Martin tonight. She finished about 1 for 3 on the night, but when she sunk it from the top of the arc, the bench went wild, just celebrating that win for her. I asked Sarah Puckett after the game, kind of what led to that burst of emotion from the team as we watched Kanaya Boyd sink the 3-pointer. She says, she gives us a lot of energy. We just want to give that back to her.
I mean, it's really fun just to see anybody hit a 3, but especially a freshman. That's her first 3-pointer here, and so that was really cool to be able to see, and she just gives us a whole lot of energy, so to be able to give that back to her in that moment is, I think, what we were thinking, and we were just all really excited for her.
Coach Kim Caldwell also said Kanaya Boyd is one of those players she believes has a high ceiling. Give her another month or two and she might look like a completely different player. So that'll be exciting to see that growth happen. But thank you all so much for watching. Please like, subscribe. We'll be back Sunday to talk all things Tennessee football. But until then, I'll talk to you on Sunday.